Good day, fellow champions of inclusion. I am Aaron, and this is the Inclusive Dad podcast where we explore inclusion and make it practical. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me in exploring ways we can create a more inclusive world together. You are important, you matter, and you can make a difference. Today, my guest is Patrick Williams. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Aaron.
Thank you so much. Why don't you just start us off by just telling us a little bit about who you are?
Sure. I am an artist. I've been making art since I was about 10. Went to art school also. I was self-taught, but then I went to art school. And after that, I did a lot of teaching and in public schools and a lot of odd jobs, which many, if not all, artists are used to. For the past 26 years, my wife and I have had a nonprofit that we've run, that Arts and Education. As both of us are artists, we've incorporated that into our work. And I'm also a creativity consultant. I do that also. My Satori Innovation is my business name.
Sounds good. Let's just start off. What is your definition of inclusion, if you had to
Sure,
define?
I've obviously watching you. I've thought about this a lot, and I think it's old school, and it's something my grandfather taught me, and it would be his birthday today. If he was still alive, it'd be his birthday. But he was a golden rule kind of guy. So do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So that has stuck with me since I was just a tiny little boy, So that's, I think, old school often is the best school.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to be 49 later this month. So, I heard that a lot. I went to church a lot of times. So loving your neighbor. So yeah, to me, that sounds so simple saying it out loud, but we somehow make it complicated. So,
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, it gets real complicated real fast.
yeah, that's great. So yeah, I started watching your TEDx talk, a little bit, and you talked about being outside and trees and, in your mind, it was, I think, Star Trek or the Enterprise and different things. And for me, like I just disclosed, I'm 49. So, mm, I grew up when there wasn't, we had a TV, but when it was nice outside, mama kicked us outside and like, don't come back until the lights come on for supper, those kind of things. And we had a woods behind my neighbor's house. So, I remember spending hours out there building forts. You'd go out and find like where somebody had dumped their trash, all the tin cans were still in rotting, and you just come up with a fort and have all these, like you said, narratives of I have this fort and somebody's going to come attack me, or just all these things that you made up in your head. So yeah,
Totally.
you bring back some good memories, and then I'm like, now I'm older, and I just don't really go out to the woods and build forts anymore, or
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. So
it's infinite what you can do back in the woods. Yeah.
yeah, that part. And the other thing I did was I had a basketball hoop on my garage, and I'd go out there and I would pretend I was like making free throws against Larry Bird or Magic Johnson, and see
For
which
sure.
one of us could make the most free throws. So yeah, it's interesting when you look back, and there was a lot of that, you know, what do you call it? Like play, like making up or scenarios and different things. So
It's the best. It's what kids need for sure.
right. So where do you or where do you think, like, I don't see myself as doing that kind of stuff now. Where do you think that happened? Like, is there stuff in society that kind of pushes us away from that, or how do we get
Yeah,
away from it, you
yeah,
think?
that's a core of the work I do, and
Okay.
it's in a slowly progressing manuscript where I talk about how creativity gets misplaced. So a lot of time, basically, kids get so busy in school and after school that there's less and less time for them to be playing. And I was just on the very start of it, and you had it more, but the emphasis on standardized testing has just gotten more and more intense over the decades. And so children of from first grade on, they spend a certain chunk of their their days in school preparing for those tests when they could be doing much more important things like playing. So the academic part and the play part need to be more balanced. And when they're out of balance, uh, we 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 lose some of our natural ability to communicate in the world, to think clearly, to problem solve. When you're out in the woods playing around, you have to problem solve a lot. Sometimes, I would get up in a tree that somehow I was able to get up, but getting down was starting to be a problem. So I had to really think about how to get down. I tell people sometimes that it's not that I never fell out of a tree, but I always fell well. So back to children. So kids they're pushed away from their play. So in school years ago, we'd go out on the playground like 3 times a day, I think, maybe 4 times. Uh, and that was super positive. The less children are able to play, the less time that they have to be natural in their learning, and then they are trapped in this academic confinement, and that there's no room for them to play. And sometimes kids they're made fun of if they like to dance, or if they draw too much, or if they sing, if whatever. Either some of the kids make fun of them, or the teacher might, or other adults do, and that sometimes just stops children from that art activity. If somebody made fun of their drawing, then they don't draw anymore. So that gets pushed down, and once a kid decides something, positive or negative, it ain't going to change for a while. So that will last into adulthood, where people may, let's say someone loved to work with clay when they were 7 or 8 years old, and a teacher said, you can't really make a pot very well, and they just stopped. That's still inside. And maybe at maybe at 49 they say, hey, I'm going to try that again, and they love it. Or they may try that, do a class for a while, but somebody in the class plays guitar, and they teach guitar, and they think, oh, you know what, I really want to do guitar rather than play with clay. So the creativity is always there, is what I help people understand. It's just gotten stuck on a shelf somewhere in the basement of your psyche, and it takes some effort to get back to it.
Yeah, I mean, everything you're saying makes sense about the messages. I mean, I don't recall like specific messages relating to like art and stuff, but I mean, there's different messages like you hear in childhood, either from your family or others about like types of people, or, people that are conform more to what the society wants versus not conforming, and how your house, people in your house, like talk about them, I'm sure makes a huge difference too.
Totally.
What's prioritized, or what's, yeah, praised or not praised. That all makes sense. Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, the play thing's big because, like I said, I mean, when you're when I was a kid, I mean, we didn't have Nintendo, we didn't have electronics, so like you went outside and you literally played outside all day, just whatever, you riding bikes, or yeah, jumping, or all this stuff where you had to figure it out and come up with in the woods, and you want something to fit your narrative. I mean, this stick is now a shovel, or it's a
Right.
whatever you want. I mean, you figure stuff out or make it up, or like, how do I build this wall so it stays up longer, and this different things. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and the one of the core is undirected play, like you're describing, when you're just out in the woods and you're just making things up, as opposed to, as as I saw working with children in school systems, and what you saw growing up, there were increasingly more toys, specifically designed from maybe a television program or a movie that you had to play with it almost a certain way because that was all there was. Whereas even with Legos, as designed as they are, you could build anything with the Lego. You didn't
Hmm.
have to build the Millennium Falcon, or you didn't have to build uh, uh, Skeletor's, whatever his name is, castle or whatever. And those are things from when I was working with kids. That's what they were into. So undirected play is difficult sometimes for adults to allow because they have their own stuff around play of being scared of play or being uh, not wanting to think about their own creativity, and they'll restrict children from that. But undirected play is the best thing for kids because then it just opens up their imagination completely. And kids' imaginations are, I think they're basically infinite. You know, they're kid as kids, we can imagine anything and create just all these worlds that are remarkable. So allowing kids to have that time to just figure things out and say, "Oh, I want to be, you know, whatever on the Starship Enterprise or whatever it might be." You know, so a stick can be a gun, it can be a shovel, it can be a an umbrella, it can be anything that we create. And building a fort, like you just said, how do I make? I want to make a wall. How do I make a wall? Or a raft, making a raft on a lake. It's like, how do I do that? So
Yeah.
that's undirected play is the best.
Yeah, you brought up the Lego thing, and I mean, when I was a kid, obviously they didn't have all these. I mean, now I go to Walmart and you see these. There's like 2,000 Legos and to make this one thing, and I actually get anxious because I'm like, my brain's like, if I lose one of those things, like I got $100 set that I can't make because I lost one. You know what I mean? But yeah, we just had the bucket of Legos of all the pieces, and you just made it up, whatever your brain came up with at the moment. So yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, you
Totally.
are right. We now, like, I mean, I have kids that are gonna be 24 and 25, and like the amount of toys they would get every like holiday, they get more and more toys. So you just have these piles of toys, and yeah, you're right. You have all these toys that have like specific ways to be used. That is interesting.
Totally.
Yeah, we had Matchbox cars in the sandbox, and we're jumping them and
Oh yeah.
making tracks and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
For sure.
interesting. And this is I guess this is probably somewhat similar, but I found recently, like, just for myself, not I don't know if it's a creativity thing, but, like, the more my day's, like, scheduled with less, like, free spaces in it where I can just kind of, like, do something, like, pops up, like, the more anxious I am too. Like, all of a sudden I was like, "Man, it's like the do unto others thing," like, you see somebody, you wanna help them. Well, I'm driving to town, I gotta be to my appointment in 5 minutes, and you have no free time. Like, there's somebody on the side of the road, it's harder to, like, stop and help somebody or, do these things. So I'm like, I try to now have more, if I can, not every day, but if have some more free space in there. So if something does pop up or you see something you want to help or you want to go sit by the lake because it's nice out, you can do that. Just having your day so scheduled from when you get up to when you go to bed for me is not good either. So I mean, it's probably something similar to having like the free play or having that free space in your schedule, I guess.
Absolutely. Well said. And great insight because those moments are essential. Entrepreneurs are they're they're challenging because they are in that mindset of like, I have to have every moment of the day, every 5 minutes scheduled. And I tell people you need time to just sit and not do anything or just take a walk and allow your mind to relax. And that's when you're going to be more open to having innovative ideas or ideas to make your podcast better, to oh, I could do this. And you only get that if you're relaxed. And the only kind of place you can relax is when you don't have something on your schedule. So it is a challenging part of what I attempt to teach people is that you have to have blocks of time in your day that are, it's funny to say that, but that you schedule not having anything scheduled, right? So it it takes you away from having to get something done, and that it's related to how kids misplace their creativity because they're just so busy that they don't have any time to just sit there and say, well, what do I want to do? Boredom is a positive thing. When you're bored, you have to think of like, oh, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to, I'm out in the woods today. It's Saturday morning, and what am I going to do? And, quickly for kids, ideas start popping in. For adults, it's a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting too. Like I said, as a kid, I'd go outside and I could play for hours in the woods and do stuff, just do that and not have to do other stuff. And now it's like with electronics or your phone, like if I go out in the woods and it's like I want to it's like I should listen to a podcast. Like I need to be doing something else. Just doing this one thing, sitting here and just having the sun hit me and looking at the trees or listening to the birds isn't enough. It's like somehow we've gotten where it's like we have to do like multiple things too. So I'm trying to fight that, and but that's hard too. Like you learn it, and you're sitting there, and it's like I should be doing something else.
For sure. Oh, yeah, totally.
Or just even having like the phone with the camera. It's like I mean, I should be taking pictures. It's like why do I need to take the pictures? I'll take the pictures. I don't even look at them later. Like why am I?
Right.
Well, it's like just so sometimes I on purpose have to like put leave the phone in my van when I go out or something. Just okay, so
Totally.
now I can't look at it. I just
Right.
sit there and you see what comes up. But you gotta move through it though, because the first couple of times you try that, I mean, I was anxious. It's like I feel
Oh,
like this doesn't feel right. I
for sure.
pressing thing, it's not on me. And
Right. And that's part of why people
really,
busy themselves. So,
right,
and one of the core points that I make with people is to do things like that, but also to have a journal. So you can be out, let's say you have a half hour to go out and sit in a park. No phone, no device, nothing, except you have your journal. And that's when you can sit and write down, wow, I just feel so uncomfortable right now. I want to be doing anything else other than just sitting here. And part of that is the lessons of meditation. Meditating, you're stuck with yourself. And that's for a lot of people, that's something very new and like you just said, in some ways very scary or uncomfortable. So part of it is part of the part of the secret in a way of creativity, but knowing who you are is being by yourself. So you can spend some time beginning to know who you are. So it's kind of a challenge for sure. But good. It's really good for you.
right. And just part of my day job is I do some adult mental health stuff, and I've started co-facilitating DBT groups where there's a lot of like mindfulness and some meditation or pieces of it too. So it's been interesting, trying to be in the moment and doing some of that stuff. Because yeah, the first just trying to sit through, 5 minute or a 2 minute mindfulness video when you're not used to it it's
For
hard. That's
sure.
hard just to stay
A-
focused on that. So it's like, okay, but
absolutely.
the more you do it, the easier. But it's those
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
couple times, it's like,
Yeah.
you're sitting there like, I got to do this after I'm done. Like brain come back. But
Well,
it's
yeah.
like, that's part of it. Like, okay, my brain's veering off. I need to come back. That's
Yep.
just part of it.
That's part of it.
So,
Yeah. Well, recently, about 2 years ago, I I started something that my wife had encouraged me to do for, almost 20 years. And so this is after 50 years of painting, I started doing portrait work and it it literally it kicked my butt. It's still kicking my butt. It is so challenging. It's unbelievably challenging even after all of the, I've painted, thousands of paintings. I've made thousands of paintings. And getting to this was like, whoa, this is so hard. And a little bit of like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. The first one I did was like, boy, maybe that I'll just tell people, no, I'm not going to do portraits because it was so bad. But it took a lot of concentration and coming back and sticking with it, just like sticking with meditation or sticking with mindfulness, that you just keep coming back and you know, it gets a little easier. It gets easier in a different way. It's not necessarily easy, but you're just more used to it. You're comfortable being uncomfortable in a way, which is again another challenging thing for people to be a little
Sure.
uncomfortable.
So what was so challenging about starting new portrait painting? Or
Well, there's like three layers of challenge. There's the challenge of a face, even though all of our faces are just a little bit different, symmetrical. One eye is a little bit different, our noses are different, but when you draw it, those if there's just something a little bit off, like the eyes are not quite even, it it's a mess. And if the nose is just a little bit to this way or to that way, or the mouth is the one of the greatest portrait artists in ever, his name was John Singer Sargent, said that a portrait is a painting with something wrong with the mouth. And this guy, he was the best ever, almost. And he knew that portrait work is just crazy. So just getting everything in alignment is different, is challenging, because we know when we look at a painting of a portrait that, oh, things are just a little off. And then the next level is if you're painting Benjamin Franklin and it looks like John Wayne, then you have a problem, right? So the likeness is the next level problem. Then the third is, I think, it's a crapshoot that you get a feeling of it being alive, that it has a quality of, yes, that is like that's a person, rather than just, it's just a flat piece of canvas or linen. But, behind me,
yeah,
I'm starting one today, a new portrait. But so
sure.
it is, and the skin tone, just unbelievably complicated. It's crazy complicated. So, but
Yeah, it's
fun.
interesting.
It's challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't yeah, I try to stuff in my head looks I try to draw it and then it's like, man, that's not even close. So I don't do it a lot, but yeah, even just drawing like a crude face, it's like it's hard to get like a face, like even just a circle-ish or to make it look is like this side does not look like that side. So yeah, I'm sure it's hard to get the sides close as you
Totally.
can or how you do it. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. But fun. It's
Yeah,
challenging.
for sure. I am not an artist, so how could I be creative or what's there ways I could be creative?
But you're doing Aaron, doing a podcast. You have to dig deep into creativity. You have to you're thinking about so many elements. You're thinking about, how to get a guest, how to weed through guests, how to what what to ask. Just coming up with the idea of inclusion is super creative. That, other people, there may be some other people doing something kind of like what you're doing, but it's beautiful, and that's creative. How we think about what we're going to do is a creative process. It's not an artistic. It can be artful, but it's not in the realm of the arts. I call that specialized creativity. And then there's generalized creativity, but in the middle there's conventional creativity. General creativity is like, what I'm going to get this blue scarf this morning to wear, you know, and the purple shirt. That's general creativity, just like very minimal. conventional creativity, you're deep in conventional creativity with doing your podcast, uh, with doing two TEDx talks. You know, you had to dig deep into creativity, and I believe that you were stepping into the specialized creativity, because anytime you're on stage, that's a special spot. And singing, anytime you sing on stage, you're way up on the creative uh, uh, mountain. So you're incorporating a lot of creativity in your life already, and to move into deeper levels of creativity, I would suggest, if you don't already, like I said earlier, journal about it. I think it would be helpful to have a podcast journal for yourself, of, you know, a place to think out loud in a way with a pen, and it has to be pen on paper, old school, like being out in the woods. This is putting pen to paper is very special, but not typing on, making a note on a device or whatever it might be. So just having a little bit of time to sit with yourself, almost like a meditation, but the meditation is about, what am I doing with the podcast? Where have I been? Where am I now? And where do I want to go? What do I feel about the podcast with Patrick? Because I will, tomorrow morning or later today, I'll jot down some notes about, what a great conversation I had with AA Ron. It was like, oh wow, we talked about the woods, and he was a woods person. I meet these people all the time. It's like, yeah, they know, like, you knew exactly what I was talking about being out in the woods. So you're using creativity. And I find this with a lot of people, especially podcasters, that they say, oh well, I'm not creative. And it's like, well, but you are. That's the key. You are creative. We it can't go anywhere. You were super creative when you were a kid out in the woods. We already know that. So you're it's a new process to reflect on ourselves that way. And especially with respect to the arts, there are so many people who, if they don't paint or play music or dance or sing or build buildings or whatever, that they say, well, I'm not creative. But that's a different kind of world that isn't in exclusively creative. I'm talking about inclusive creativity in a way,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, for sure.
I'm talking about inclusion for everybody in the creative world.
Yeah. Thanks for framing it that way. Because yeah, for some reason in my brain, like the creativity is just like, yeah, like attached to like drawing or painting or those types of activities. Which you're correct. Yeah, that does make sense now that you explain it.
Mm,
But yeah. So now my brain's like, it's interesting how you say something like that, and my brain's like, well, why is it attached to like specific things like that? Is that from my childhood, or is that just how it's presented? So my brain's down the wraps. Oh,
that's good. That's
yeah,
what brains are for. Minds are for that. Minds are for really,
yeah,
like, oh wow,
yeah.
what about that? Yeah, I love that.
And it's interesting you say like do pen on paper. Like I'm getting older and now it's like I'm talking about going back to like a flip phone because like just like all this technology stuff, like it's nice, but it's like I don't like why is it?
Mm,
I don't know if it's
mm,
necessarily bad. Like,
right,
well, and I took all social media off my phone because I'm like, I go down that rabbit hole and then you feel like I'm anxious and stuff like it's stuff I don't even have control over. Like,
right.
why am I getting anxious or worried about stuff I have no control over? So
Exactly.
I did that, but then you realize like, well, if I want to post a picture on Facebook or on Instagram, it's way easier to do it on the app on your phone. It's like they trick you. Like they make it
They
so
are
only certain
tricky.
things you can do on your phone. I'm like, God dang it.
Yeah, they are tricky. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
And I think the more people like you and I talk about the how it was in the old days, I mean, we grew up with the phone was attached to the wall, and we had, you probably did too, a phone with a dial on it. we didn't upgrade to a push button phone. Well, I was out of the house, before that happened. So, there's a there's a quality, and I think that we're on a hump, right? The technology hump, that, with especially like with phones and devices and the apps, it's going to run its course. We're going to find a more reasonable level of interaction with these uh, algorithms that will be more healthy for everybody. And, for me, kids shouldn't use them at all until they're, ideally, our brains, ideally not until they're 27, but that would be impossible. Our brains are still developing until we're 27 years old. And we already know that these devices are detrimental to children's learning development. So it's a big it's a big task for us all to put down the device and just hang out, just journal, write, you know, take a walk, like you said, sit down and listen to the birds and watch a squirrel run around and just
Yeah, and I just
relax.
and then I was thinking like all this stuff that we got for free when we were kids too. Like we just turned on the TV. It was free. We didn't have to like pay for 18 different services
Right.
to see all the things. It's like, man, they tricked us. They got us good. Like all this
Sure
stuff that
thing.
was free when I was a kid. Now we're paying money for all this stuff.
Yeah. Per month.
Even
Yeah.
per
Yeah.
month. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. Kind of, but
But yeah, I actually go ahead.
we'll figure it out. We'll come back to equilibrium.
Well, I bought a record player well, actually off Facebook, but a used one, and then I got some vinyl. So I'm trying to do more of that stuff too, or just turn the radio on. Like we just whatever is on the radio you listen to. It's like it's nice to be able to like go and find exactly the song you want to listen to, but then you kind of like you lose the part of you don't know what's gonna be next, or like, oh, that song I haven't heard for a while, I forget about it. So it's interesting, like there's
It
good and
is.
bad to everything.
Yeah. 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 Vinyl's good. Vinyl's the best.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
The new ones are like, if you go to Walmart and get it for like a new one, man, those things are expensive, like
Mm,
40 some. I'm like, wow,
really?
that's a lot of money.
Wow. I haven't looked. Yeah.
Well, now they're all in Walmart, like all of them are a different color. They must think it's cool to have like they have this one's blue or this one's red or the actual records are different colors. It's like,
Interesting.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Crazy.
What is one tip you can share to help our listeners be more inclusive today? So just something everybody can start doing today to be more inclusive.
Good question. Talk to people. Just when you're standing in line, talk to the cashier at least, but talk to the person, behind you or in front of you. I mean, you're just standing there, just say, "Hey, how's it going? What's your day like?" Ask a question, you know? So I think that will help people remember that we're all pretty much the same. We're all just people getting through our day and doing interesting things. What interesting thing are you doing today? So I think that's my little input for
Yeah.
being inclusive
Yeah,
for the day.
that's a great tip, but it kind of goes back again to like you have to have your phone. You can't have your phone out looking at your phone while you're in the store because then it's much harder. You get focused on that and you just
Exactly.
don't pay attention either.
Right.
So yeah, so much of it comes back to like being in the moment and like seeing what's around you and not if you're looking at your phone walking through the store, you're not going to see somebody having trouble reaching that can on the top shelf and helping them. You can't say hi to somebody or all the things. So
I
yeah.
totally agree. Yep. 100%. Put the phone down, talk to people.
Where's the best place for everybody to connect with you?
I can be found. I have a few places. If people want to reach out to me, Patrick at patrickwilliams.com is my email. Glad to hear from folks. I have a couple Instagram sites, PMW Creativity and PMW / camera. One is a drawing site that I do drawing each day. This was this morning's drawing, and then the other one is I post photos, and I also sort of new is a Substack, how to make a painting, and I wrote about a painting that I worked on for 8 months. It was a big painting of Mother Mary, and now I'm doing a painting that I did for a couple friends of an owl and a raven and a lot of other stuff. So I write about how to make a painting, but I write about life. I write about, what my interests are, and it's just not about how to make a painting. So that's fun. And at Patrick Williams Stay Creative is my business website.
Awesome. So you do a drawing every day? Is that what you
Yep,
said?
I do one of these every day, and there's like 3,300 and some on my my website. And I change, so this year is a rectangle and a circle. Last year was a circle and a triangle.
Okay.
And the year before that was a circle and a square. And so
Interesting.
I go through, and then it's just basically variations on a theme. I draw those and I make marks, and they come out different. They come out different every day. And I
Interesting.
use that also as a teaching tool for people to draw, let's say, two circles and make marks. And then after 10 minutes, draw two more circles and make marks, and see if you can make them different than the first two. So, and then make a
Interesting.
third one, then make a fourth one. So it's a little exercise to loosen ourselves up and be surprised. I like to surprise myself.
That's awesome. You ready for the last question?
Sure.
Do you like spam lunch meat? Yes or no?
Yes. Well, and it's funny how many do was that a do you ask that question with different objects? Because that's such a, I mean, it's an age thing too. Like some kids now, do they know what spam is?
That's a good question. I've been asking that same question on every episode because I live near Austin, Minnesota, where they make spam and where the spam museum's located. So I started doing it on the first one, and it's interesting to see reactions. Like it's usually pretty quick, yes or no, or I haven't had it. That's kind of the basic.
Ah, really?
It's
Yeah.
interesting yeah, or the amount of people that have tried it in Hawaii because it's huge in Hawaii. So a lot
Yeah,
of people
for
know it from
sure.
Hawaii. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's been an interesting
Yeah, yeah.
just to see
It's
reactions.
it's a very when you showed me, it's like I had the mouth reaction. It's like, oh yeah, I know that. I haven't had spam for 50 plus years, maybe 60 years, right?
Yeah. No, it's interesting. So yeah, if you ever want to visit the spam museum, you got to come to southern Minnesota.
All right. Good
Yeah.
idea.
Also, if you want to fly with spam, you just might as well take it out of the bag and put it in the trolley because they'll pull you aside and look at it. So
It,
make sure.
it, it looks like a bomb.
I've done that twice. Like, do you have anything there? Like, I got spam. I'm like, yep, that'll do it.
Yeah.
And so
Oh,
many
wow.
other people travel with spam. So,
That's wild. I love it.
well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
It was great. Hey, Ron, my pleasure.
To those listening, thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey. It is truly an honor. Please join the podcast newsletter by clicking on the link in the episode description to keep up with the latest episodes. Together, we can make the world more inclusive. Until next time, stay empowered and be a champion for inclusion.